What's going on YouTube? So the Hyundai Elantra has long been one of Hyundai's best-selling vehicles, and it's easy to see why with the combination of style and technology that the Elantra has thrown in. Coming off of a full redesign just last year, I'm now standing next to the latest 2022 example. So without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and jump right into the review and see if this is the compact sedan for you. So some vehicles in this class like to blend in and be kind of anonymous transportation, but as you can tell, that's not the case with this Elantra. This new design is very bold, extremely angular, and really stands out a lot. And that starts up here in the front. You'll notice almost the entire front end is dominated by this grille. It goes all the way across, has this kind of squared off texture, and there's a couple different finishes depending on your trim level. It will be blacked out on your lower models, and then the Limited and the SEL with premium package will get this smoked chrome, which I think looks particularly good. You'll also notice down here at the bottom you have these kind of aggressive juts and shapes, even a functional vent. So this is definitely a very unique design for this class. Now let's turn our attention up here to the headlights next. We do have premium LED daytime running lights as standard equipment. But as far as the headlights themselves, these are actually going to be halogen headlights until you get to the Limited trim level. Now carrying on with the bold design, Hyundai has several bold wheel options for you. You will get standard alloys on every model, so the SE has a 15-inch alloy. The SEL trim levels, those are going to come standard with a 16-inch gloss black finished alloy. However, you notice this particular model has something different. This is a 17-inch contrast alloy. This is part of the premium package, and this is also shared with the Limited trim level. And then finally, coming up here to your mirrors, you're gonna have standard blind spot monitoring on every single trim level, and then heating is available on the SEL and standard on the Limited.
Now here at the side, you cannot mistake this Elantra for anything else, because this is probably one of the most angular designs I have ever seen on any modern vehicle. We have 3 body lines shooting out over here, and then if you trace them back, you have another one coming down here, you have another one going here. All types of angles you got going on with the Elantra. So it's definitely a very bold design. Now whether you like that or not, that's going to be up to you. I think it looks pretty good. And then when we head around to the rear, the angled design is going to continue. So up here in the top, we have all of these body lines kind of come to a point here. We don't have a spoiler on this one, but you can get that if you go for something like the inline. And then if you drop down here, we do have LED accented taillights. These are going to be full length across the entire back. However, the brake light, turn signal, and reverse light portions are all incandescent until you get at least the Limited or inline trims. We have Elantra branding. Then down here at the bottom, we're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets until you get the inline model. So Hyundai is going to throw in 3 out of your 4 safety systems standard equipment across the board. So it's going to be your forward emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and auto high beams. Adaptive cruise control will be optional on the SEL trims or standard on the Limited and above. That's also going to include Hyundai's highway drive assistant. Well guys, that wraps up the very bold and cool design of this Elantra. Now let's go ahead and check out the inside before we take it on a spin. Before we do all of that, please hit the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to you, and it really, really helps us out.
So on the Elantra, if you choose anything except for the very base model, Hyundai does nicely include a standard smart entry system, and we do also have remote start integrated onto this key fob. I should also mention, if you choose the Limited trim or the SEL with premium package, that's going to throw in Hyundai's digital key system, so you'll be able to unlock the doors with an Android smartphone or an NFC card. Now to get inside the vehicle itself, you're just going to reach behind the handle here and it will unlock. Alright, and take a look inside of this cabin. Of course, this was just fully redesigned last year, so we're not going to see any significant changes to the cabin. So you've got that fully modern Hyundai design, which matches quite nicely with what you get in its big brother, the Sonata. Now, in terms of your different material and color options for this cabin, it's pretty simple. So you're just going to be dealing with cloth seating for your SE and your SEL trim levels. And then if you go for the fully loaded limited, that's going to get you leather seating. And as far as your color options, as you can see, we have gray. You can also get black as well. Now turning over here to the door trim, it is nicely finished. We have a padded material across this armrest portion through here. And then all through this middle portion, we have this really cool rubber textured material with the triple stitching detail that goes through here, and a little speaker grill. So this is a very classy looking touch for this category of vehicle. It is going to be hard touch on the top though. And then as far as your windows, it's going to be one touch auto up and down for just the driver. Coming over here and taking a look at the seats. These are going to be 8-way power adjusting, optional on this SEL. The lower models have 6-way manual. And then like I was mentioning, we do have a cloth seat since this is an SEL trim level model. I do like the appearance of this design, and the cloth material feels nice and high quality, and you have some cool details right there in the middle. So when you first glance inside of this cabin, it looks like a very modern and sophisticated place. And as far as your cabin materials, they are very good for the class. So across our upper dash, this is all going to be finished in a soft touch plastic with this kind of dimple texture, which is pretty cool. As we move down to this middle area, you've got this cool vent detailing that runs all across the dashboard there. Down below, this is going to be hard touch. We do have this large handlebar here for your passenger to grab on, I guess if you're going a little too fast. Got some piano black accents, some more textured material through here, and everything does fit together very nicely. Now start it up, put your foot on the brake, and press the button. Now as soon as I hit the ignition there, you're probably noticing a premium feature you wouldn't expect to see in a compact sedan, and that's the fact that we actually have a digital gauge cluster. So this is the 10.25 full digital gauge cluster. This is included with the SEL premium package or standard on the limited trim level. As you can see, it looks very nice, super crisp graphics. It does change with the drive modes, and it does all the same tricks as in any other Hyundai product. So certainly very cool to see that. Otherwise, you're going to have a more traditional analog setup with a 4.2-inch multifunction display. And since we got a lot of comments and questions about this last year, I do want to point out this little accent over here. It looks like it's a screen. This is actually just painted onto this piano black plastic. So it doesn't actually do anything. It's just a styling element. But let's come back to the steering wheel now. As you can see, we do have electric power assisted steering. We've got the newest 4-spoke Hyundai design, and it is nicely leather wrapped on the limited and the SEL with convenience package. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. But let's talk about interior storage, because a lot of cars in this segment can struggle in this area, but the Elantra does pretty well for itself. So we'll start out under the center console. You're going to see quite a bit of space in there. This is pretty deep. We do have a felt lining at the bottom, but let's put it to the test. So you can't just say it looks deep, you gotta test it out. Alright, so we kind of stick our coupons in there. They're a little bunched up, kind of folded in half. Let's see if it fits. Bingo. Alright, it does fit. Some in the class, like I said, fail in this area. We've got 2 cup holders. They are adjustable, so you can pull this out and there'll be 2 different heights. And then up here in the very front, you're gonna see a large storage area, great place for a cell phone. And it does have a ventilated wireless phone charging pad in addition to those connections there. This is part of the premium package or standard on the limited. Okay, let's take a look here next at the shifter. Now, unlike the Sonata, this is going to come with a traditional shifter instead of an electronic one. Obviously, simple operation, pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting through the simulated gear changes. There are no paddle shifters. And then heading into reverse, you will see a standard backup camera pop up. It does have very nice resolution, and nice to see that it has active trajectory as well. If you want parking sensors, that's going to require the limited trim level. And then right next to that, we have our electronic parking brake and our brake hold function. Now moving up the dash, we do have a dual zone automatic climate control set up on all but the very base model, so that's very nice to see in this category of vehicle. As you can see, all the buttons are physically located here, nicely in piano black as well. And then down below that, we have 3-stage heated seats. These are going to be part of the SEL convenience package or standard on the limited trim level. And additionally, vented seats are actually available on the Elantra, but only if you choose the hybrid limited. So that's going to be for a different review, but I just wanted to point that out. Okay, and now that brings us up here to our audio system. So as you expect, there's a series of different audio systems, but since we have the premium package, we actually have the best audio system, the 8-speaker Bose premium sound system. Now today I am having a bit of a problem with the Bluetooth pairing, so we're not going to be able to play any type of sound sample for you guys, but rest assured we did listen to the radio earlier, and the sound quality of this system is definitely excellent for this category of vehicle. Now, as far as the infotainment system itself, let's talk about that next. So what we have here is the standard screen size. This is 8 inches. As you can see, you've got buttons around the sides for this display, and if you choose the limited trim level, that's going to get you the 10.25 inch display, and that has the kind of flat glass effect and gets rid of the buttons around the sides. So that's what you get for the displays. Now, as far as the technology, this is important and probably something you want to think about. If you get the smaller display, that's actually going to come standard with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. If you get the larger display, it is a wired connection, so something to keep in mind, but it is running wirelessly, as you can see right here. Moving up to the mirror, if you chose the limited, it would be auto dimming with home link. And then up here along the top here, we have a moonroof. This is part of the premium package for SEL, and again, standard on the limited.
Alrighty guys, join me here in the rear seat of the Elantra. Now I have to say I'm very, very impressed by what they've done here, because this is really, really quite spacious. We're going to have 38 inches of legroom, 37 inches of headroom. You heard me right. On paper, this is actually larger than the Hyundai Sonata. Now, I don't know, I think it feels about the same, but this is actually technically larger than the Sonata and also larger than the vast majority of the competition. Now, as far as behind rear seating position, I would say a solid 6 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can slide up underneath the seat, which is certainly pretty rare for a vehicle in this segment. Now, as far as the features are concerned, it is going to be sparse, as you would expect for the segment. No vents, no outlets. We're also not going to have heated rear seats, unlike previous generations of the Elantra. However, since we have opted for one of the upper end models, we do have a center armrest with cup holders inside. Now, walking up to the trunk, in order to open, we just push the button here. We do also have Hyundai's smart opening trunk as well, which is a pretty nice touch. And as far as the space itself is concerned, we're going to be a little over 14 cubic feet for the Elantra's cargo area. That does place it behind that of the all-new Honda Civic, but it's still better than the Corolla, so this is in the upper end of the segment for sure. And as far as the finishings, we do have 60/40 split folding rear seats. And then if we lift up the floor, we are going to find a spare tire, and this particular tester does have a cargo net as well. Now your passenger seat is going to be manually adjusting, and then opening up the glove box. Watch out, it is not dampened, and it drops down with a little bit of force, especially if you have stuff in it. But as far as the size itself, for those of you that don't know, I have an Elantra, and this is pretty much the exact same size, and the coupons do fit in here perfectly fine. It is shaped a little bit differently than mine though. And then up top, we do have a mirror as well as lighting, and we can also detach and extend the sun visor.
are at 60 miles per hour. So with the Elantra, the regular version of the Elantra has one engine option. So that is a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and that's going to be making 147 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque. Those are class competitive numbers, puts it, right in line with what you get with like a Corolla or a Honda Civic.
Yeah. Now, if that's not enough power for you, you do also have the inline that I think has 201 horsepower, if I remember correctly, and that definitely does spice it up a little bit, but this is adequate for the segment for sure.
And coming later this year will be the full in.
You're right.
That one's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, we can't wait to sample that one out. Will, of course, be a separate review.
Yeah, power definitely feels more than adequate for this category. Let's talk about the transmission as well. You're probably noticing that we have a shift simulation, even though this is a continuously variable transmission.
Yeah.
That does help things to feel a little bit more realistic. It's actually a very responsive CVT. You put your foot down, responds immediately, and with that shift simulation, you don't really have any bad droning or anything like that.
Yeah.
Of course, if you just despise CVTs, you can get the inline, which has a dual clutch or a manual transmission option.
Yeah. It is also going to be front wheel drive only. There's not going to be all wheel drive in like something like a Mazda 3. But just cruising down the highway here, let's talk about this. Now, of course, this vehicle is not really meant to be sporty unless it's in the inline or in configurations, and just highway cruising, this feels very, very comfortable. I'm very impressed by it. This is, I would say, in the upper quarter of the class when it comes to ride quality. It just feels very solid. It soaks up the bumps really well, even with the large wheels. And it's also quiet in here. I will go ahead and get a sound level reading so we can compare to stuff like that new Civic. And we're looking at 55.9 decibels, and it's pretty windy outside as well. I know for a fact that's quite a bit lower than something like a Civic Sport. This definitely has a lot more sound deadening than that.
So I put it into the sport mode. Of course, in a car like this, that's not going to do a whole lot, but it does change the throttle response a little bit to be more aggressive, keep the revs up a little bit, and I feel like the steering is a little bit heavier as well. And as we go around these corners here, I should comment that Hyundai has done a good job with making this kind of sporty to drive. It's very spunky feeling. You can see the body motions are really well controlled. It's certainly a lot more athletic than the previous generation if you own one of those like we do.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that this is a lot more athletic in terms of the steering and the handling.
Now we can go ahead and discuss the fuel economy. So for the SE and SEL, that's going to be 33, 43, 37, really good fuel economy. Limited's going to drop to 35 miles a gallon combined, and of course, if you go for the higher powered ones, that will also be lower fuel economy. And that really is exceptional fuel economy. That's the very, very, very top end of the segment. Alrighty, and you already know what time it is. It's airball and slam dunk time. For today, we'll start out with the slam dunk, and we're going to say that's going to be the interior technology and overall value in here. This one is, well, I'll get into the price in just a second, but this is quite a bit lower than a fully loaded Honda Civic or Corolla, and we're still, showing off like our big digital gauge cluster. We got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. This interior is really high tech for the segment, and it even comes at a lower price point than a lot of the segment.
Right, and then on the airball side of things, that's going to be what I'll call controversial exterior design. Based on comments we've seen on YouTube, it's certainly a look that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. It's very, very aggressive and very angular. It looks like nothing else on the road, which, we were just in a Honda Civic, for instance, which has gone to a very conservative look. So if you like something a little bit bold, this is certainly going to stand out more than a Civic.
And let's go ahead and talk pricing. So the SE is going to start at $19,850, SEL 21.1. Then we have the Limited, that's going to be $25,600. And this one, as equipped, is going to be a touch over, I think it's like $25,600 and some for this particular model, with pretty much all of the equipment that the Limited has on the SEL.
So when you drive down the street, you really see Elantras everywhere, including one right beside us now that I look. And that's because year after year and generation after generation, this really has just been a very solid vehicle, offering all the things that a family might want or just a single person, but having all those amenities in a very value-packed package. And this continues that tradition for 2022. As a matter of fact, you're just adding in even more style with this new generation, even more technology, and now you even have the option to get more performance with the higher end models.
Well guys, that wraps up this review of the 2022 Hyundai Elantra SEL. We really appreciate you watching this video, and if you made it this far, hopefully that means you enjoyed watching or at least found it helpful. So be sure to pay us back by hitting that subscribe button down below, completely free. And all it's going to do is give you notifications on our most recent content. We really have a diverse portfolio of content, so please go ahead and check that out. We have comparisons, full reviews, shorts, whatever your heart desires, we have it on the channel, so you won't want to miss out. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.